drum roll, please, as I introduce the special guest for today, no other than Lua Davidson. How you doing, Lua?
Hi everyone, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I'm so pumped to have you here. And even though we've had our conversations, could you introduce yourself so we all could know you and I can re-know you again?
Hello everyone. My name is Lua Davidson. I am a front-end developer, and I'm just here to let those newbies who are still trying to get into tech or newbies in tech to know how to successfully get into tech. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I think maybe I should introduce myself too. Maybe if we've not had a space before. My name is Kelvin, JavaScript developer and DevRel at Treble, and yeah, technical writer, YouTuber, and I just love teaching JavaScript in essence. So I, so we're doing this space today to tackle a topic that might be on your mind, even if you just got started with your dev journey, or you're about to get started, or you know someone that wants to get started, and you were like asking, how do I really do this? How do I successfully get into tech? So I found Lua on Twitter, and I see the work she's been doing, how she's been like encouraging folks to get into tech, and I was really interested and keen, like, wow, this is good stuff. This is exactly what I'd like to do as well. So I said, okay, let's just have this and just discuss tech and how we could get into it. So um, let's start on this note, Laura. Like, how did you get into tech?
It's quite it's an interesting story how I got into tech. Well, I didn't get into tech the regular way. People get into tech with HTML, CSS, or like whatever it is, however it is they go into tech. So how did I get into tech? My dad is a software engineer, and he, obviously had um, understanding in this programming language and development and all of that. So I started from obviously the regular stuff, Microsoft Word and Excel and all of that. And as time went by, I started seeing him building applications, and I kept asking him, I'm like, "What is this? How do you do these things?" And because he would always show me, like, "What do you like this design?" I'll be like, "Yes, I like it." Blah blah. And he was like, "Okay, would you like to learn it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't want to go into because I always saw him. He was always sitting down morning till night. He never had time to like have fun. Or I'm like, I'm not gonna go into this thing. Hell no. So he bought me my first laptop, and the first thing I started doing was architecture design, and I fell in love with it because I could see the graphical, side of architecture designing. I was designing houses and all of that. And one day I just went on Google and I started doing my own research, and I came across this female on YouTube. She was like, "I'm going to teach you how to create an API actually in 6 hours." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What's an API?" So I just started doing my own research, and I came across HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then I went to my dad. I'm like, you asked me if I wanted to learn. Like I came back and I was trying to act like a good girl, And then I started answering him questions, and he kept on replying me because he really wanted me to get into the field of tech. So after that, after 2 weeks, he was like, "Okay, I'm about to start a programming school, and I would like you to be one of my students." Like he was actually begging me to get into tech. So I was one of his first students. We learned Java programming, and that's just how I got into tech. Basically, my dad pushing me to doing it.
Wow, nice. Well, I want to say I have similar story, but not really. So my journey into tech was strange as well, but let me just say it as it is. So mm, for for some reason, at a very tender age, I think maybe 12 or so, I stumbled upon some old notes of my dad's. So apparently, it was actually when I was way older I understood what led to that note. So my dad did study computer science back in school. So he had this note of Visual Basic. Okay, not even Visual Basic, just basic. So I saw the notes because of course mischievous kids going through all that stuff. I should know better. But I saw the notes and I looked into it and I saw some basic syntax like rem and all those stuff. And that moment was a eureka moment for me because I was like, whoa, this is how you tell the computer to do something. This is interesting. So I kept stealing my way back into those notes and just reading. For some reason, I just loved the code. I didn't know why, but they were very interesting to me. Then, when I was way much older, I was about going to school. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer because I love mathematics back then. Then, for some reason, and I was already good with computers because I had to like teach myself a lot of stuff. I was already writing Python a lot. I got code online, wrote some Python and some Bash script, just do some stuff. All I was doing was just having fun, telling the computer what to do. So when it was time to go to school, I said, okay, let me just do computer science, right? And I got to school, and my first introduction to code was confusing. I was like, what is this? I thought it should be a little bit more easier, right? But I've been writing code before, but what we were being taught were like something like Visual Basic or stuff. So it took me a while to like get it into me, like, okay, let's just learn the coding way, how to do my extra studies and all that. Then I, yes, this is not the happy fairy tale you were looking for. But what happened was I finished school and I did not get my result because I did not want it. Because after the schooling, I decided that I wanted to get the real life experience, which was much more valuable to me than getting the certificate because I do not like certificates. Just my thing, right? So I did that. I left school. I was just studying my own. Then I got my first job at a company called mypaddy.ng. I don't know if you know it. So I was a front end dev there, a lot of learning to do. I was using Vue.js. That was my first exposure to Git. Git was like rocket science at the time. I was, what the heck am I doing? Confusing times. Yeah. Then fast forward that, I went on from that job to work on for a Web3 project. Like I was doing the full stack of it, doing the mobile app. I've learned Swift at the time, and all this time, no concrete formal or structural education. It was just me doing my research and reading and just learning a whole lot. I learned Swift. I learned Flutter. I was just building and building. Then I got to do sales cast because I wanted to teach people sales that I found doing my, of course, my endless research, and I wanted to teach people sales, so I decided to do salescast.com. I never built a website like that before, but come on, why not try? Eh? So I did. I did that. Then again, I saw what if I did something called copy to let people just write JavaScript and see the output at the side. I never built it before, but trust me, that's not going to stop me, is it? I wrote it. So copy is live, it's being used, and it's a really good product. I even use it myself a lot. Then I got hired as DevRel for a company called Fleet DM, a security company. Then I was let go before the job had trouble, which I currently am. So that's like me capping over 7, 8, 9. I don't know how long years, but that's just, and thinking about it, a lot has happened, but that has just been my journey so far. Yeah. So I have a question for you. So now this is the question. At what point did you decide that, okay, this is it for me? I just want to do tech. Like this is the way I'm going to go. It's not something I'm just going to dabble in and just go out.
It was, I think, a year ago. I was introduced to a fellow, girl like me who was already, doing it and actually uh, creating projects and doing her thing. So I met this girl through Twitter because I joined Twitter, I think, last year, and we were just talking, and she was like, "Oh, you're doing this," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and she sent me her GitHub username, and I went there, and I'm like, okay. I mean, like, my age mate is doing it, and she's not like put in the money, because a lot of people when they are trying to get into tech, they always put like, how much am I going to be making, uh what job am I going to get, blah 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 blah, blah, which is okay. But I saw that she was not actually looking at that. She was looking at the project that she's going to be creating, the problems that she's going to be solving, and all of that. In as much as I wanted to get into tech after my dad showed me the path and actually how useful it is. But I think just seeing someone my age doing something like that was like, okay, this is it. This is definitely it for me. And that was when I started like, okay, I can actually focus on this, and this could be my path. Maybe there was a reason why my dad did software engineering. There was a reason why he pushed me. There was a reason why I met this girl. There was a reason why I started learning even if I didn't want to. So yes, I think that was it for me.
Nice. I like it. And it's a good thing you mentioned the money part, which we're going to get into, of course. But I, for me, I didn't know about the money much when I started. All it was for me was massive curiosity and solving problems. And to me, the computer was a tool to solve problems. And getting paid to solve the problem was just a very huge, satisfying part of it. But it was never the end goal for me. Like, I just love the fact that in my job, I could pick a problem like a use case for people, and with just text like English alphabets and the syntax of the language, of course, I could create something that solves people problem and is valuable at the same time, and I'm going to get paid for it. So it's just mind blowing, really, what tech could do, right? And yeah, so let's talk some more on what you're doing presently, like the your daily task in your field as a front end developer.
Yeah, so I'm currently working at Ruta Innovation House. I volunteered to become a mentor there and help people get into tech, and also as well teach HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And not just doing that, I am also part of their front end development team, which means maintenance of their websites. And also, I do freelance works. I do websites for people who obviously are interested in getting a website. And as well, I just started an organization called HerPeer, a community where females, I help females get into tech and help them get sponsorship and mentorship for free, which is something that I really want to do. So that's basically what I do for now. And yeah, that's it.
Wow, cool. That's a lot, really. And speaking about her peer, like when you started it, what was the goal for you? Like, what were you trying to achieve for the tech space?
I was trying to achieve, of course, not everyone have that father who would push them the way my dad did. Not everyone have that mother. Not everyone have that older sister or older brother or even a friend who would show them the light and what they can actually achieve in tech. So I wanted to be that person who could show females the way, that person who they can lean on, that person who could help them, that person who can help them grow in the technological field. Not just that, we don't only focus on tech, we also focus on counseling and all of that. So I just wanted girls who don't have that opportunity that I have, because I feel like it's a blessing that God gave me that opportunity, but not everyone have that. So me having that opportunity and that privilege, I want to be able to create that for other girls who were not in the same environment that I was in.
Nice, nice. So how's it going so far? Like, are you hitting your goals currently, or are you facing challenges? Of course, for every good venture like this is gonna be challenges. So, like, how has it been?
We're achieving, some goals, but of course, we're definitely going to face challenges, from the beginning. So, currently, we have about 30 females currently studying front end development. And of course, I'm already a front end developer at Hotel. So, we got a scholarship at Hotel Innovation House. So, we now, I personally am the one training them. So, we have scholarships from Rota Innovation House, and they're now learning CSS. They're currently on CSS level, and that's one goal that we've actually achieved, being able to guide them through, and they now knowing how to create static websites. I've not started posting that yet because I'm keeping everything. I'm documenting the whole process. So the other thing that we've achieved is we've been able to get 5 girls back to school, um, high school dropout, and we've been able to get them back to school, and they're now in school. And we're still looking for more sponsorship. Of course, I can't assure them that I'm going to use my personal money to like be able to sponsor 100. I'm not a millionaire or something, but I'm trying my best. Collaborating with other people, trying to look for more mentors, more helps, and of course, my dad is already there. It's number one whether I like it or not. So, yeah, we're getting there, and the issues the the issues we have is you know just being able to keep motivating them, because I feel like females have this issue. I don't know if it's just females or males are also going through that, but females have different things that they're thinking about. They have their daily activities and all that, and they also still want to learn, so it's a lot on them. So being able to keep motivating them, keep pushing them. It's been a very difficult, most especially in the country that I'm starting it from. Tech is not something that people actually appreciate where I am right now. So that's been the difficult aspect, but everything else has been going real fine.
Nice. Wow. That's a lot of work. I am inspired, Laura. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for the folks that are under you and trying to bring them into this amazing industry. Is really, really good job. I'm gonna definitely going to talk more with you in the DMs to see how we could give some support, because I am all for helping as much possible people as much as I can get into tech and teach, mentor, resources, whatever I could do. So we'll talk on that later, you and I.
Okay.
So yeah, sure. So now, for the crux of why we are all here, let's because like I said, an hour. I like a very brief space, so I could go rest as well as Lua and everybody else. So the steps to successfully get into tech. It's what stands out for me are steps and successfully. All right. So if there is the successful way to get into tech, definitely there's going to be like the least successful way to also get into tech. So let's start from that tangent, right? Like what what can one do that will sort of harm your tech journey, like when you decided to get into tech?
Yeah, so I personally have a personal story on that, a personal experience on that, because I was I was not really directed in the right process. I would jump from this and from that. I wanted to do everything at the same time, which is something I still like. That's just my personality. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want like, and if I'm trying to do everything at the same time, I don't do anything. So I feel like a lot of people tend to not know exactly what they want or what they want to go into, and they try to test this and test that. It's good to try to do everything at the same time, but you need to pick one and actually focus on that one and try to master that one before you move to the next stage and be like, okay, I'll practice it, and then move to the next stage. But a lot of people want to do this, they want to do that, they want it's not going to help you in any way. And that was what I did. I was doing graphic design. I was doing singing. I was doing acting. I was just doing a whole bunch of things that wasn't helping my growth at all, and it really messed me up until I started following the right path and the right steps to actually build my career in tech.
I hear you, and you mentioned something that I'm very big on, which is doing everything at the same time. And they're already laughing because they know I have talked about this before. So it is, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of going for depth in your tech journey. And this word always comes to mind: specialist. You know, I don't know if you all watch military movies and all that stuff, right? So maybe there's like an army, maybe they're at war, right? And the normal guys, the foot soldiers, they've been fighting and all that stuff, and they need something to be done by an elite team. They always go for the specialists, right? So even though they are all armies, they wear the same uniform, but when it comes to some special, they get the specialists. And I always wonder why is that? Because these are the people that have gone into depth in tactics, and they have really solidified their craft. Even if they are other soldiers, their elite team, they are the ones that train enough, they've gone for depth, and they are just the best of the best, right? So it always comes to mind when I do anything, especially in tech, that the only reason I would stand out is if I am the best of the best, because of course the space is saturated already. Everybody, there are a lot of people coming to tech every now and then. So what's going to differentiate you? What's going to set you apart is for you to specialize, and by specializing, you need to go for depth in whatever you are studying. Like when I started, I know how long I just studied the DOM, like JavaScript DOM API, and just manipulating the DOM. No frameworks, just really going into it. Even up to today, I still do it. I get, okay, let's study JavaScript arrays for this week. Just study arrays and arrays and arrays, because the more you know something, the more way you could see to apply it. And sometimes when you see a whole complicated code base and all that, it's not because the code is complicated, it's just lack of understanding. So you just piece people code from Stack Overflow, from here, ask questions, and you have a Frankenstein monster of a code. No. When you get understanding by like going for depth, your codes become way much better, and you become a way better developer. So, like Lua said, do one thing first. If you're getting into tech right now, whether it's web dev, mobile dev, start like I always start with the why. What is the why for web development? What is the why for mobile dev? Okay, all right. After knowing the why, what are the foundations of web dev? HTML. I believe most people don't even know 20% of HTML. Like the fact. Some people just think it's the divs. You got a div, you got a title and all that stuff, and we are done. List item on all that list and that is it all. That's not. HTML is really deep, and you don't know it because you did not aim for depth. You just want to quickly go to React. Ew, you did not grasp HTML very well. So, like Luwa said, aim one thing at a time. So I really love. So yeah, so that's it for the um okay, so that's it for what not to do. So do you have okay, I think we've lost Lua. Let me get her back up. Probably our internet. Okay. Okay, maybe she's gonna join again. Yeah. So yes, so while we'll okay, Lua's back. Lua's back. Yeah. How you doing, Lua? We lost you for a
Yeah,
bit.
sorry, I had to check my connection real quick.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Yeah. So do you have any no nos? Because I feel like we should start with the no nos before we go to the yes. Are you there, Lua?
Yes, I can hear you. What was the question? The question
Yeah.
again.
Like, are there other mistakes you encountered? Like
Uh,
bad.
yes, there were mistakes that I definitely encountered why when trying to get into tech, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like not researching more or exploring more on the type of roles in the tech field, because I was just like, okay, I'm getting into tech, I'm getting into. I didn't know that there were UI UX designers. I didn't know there were project managers. I didn't know back difference between back end and front. I was just doing what I was doing. I was not aware of the roles that were there. So that was one of the mistakes I made. Definitely, that was one of the mistakes.
Yeah, that's a very valid one as well. So like I think most times most of us heard about tech from our peers, and we just assume what they're doing is like the only thing in tech that we could do as well. So we need to like maybe take a step back and really do the research of the broad, because tech is really really broad and there are a whole lot of fields. So you don't have like a myopic worldview of the tech space. You should really do your research. That's a good one. That's a great one. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have any other mistakes? Yes. Like I said before, one thing I really want to hit on is folks should learn to not always want to start out in tech by not wanting to put in their all. So to get into tech, you need commitment. It is really important you have commitment. It's not as a hobby. Of course, you can make it a hobby, but it's more demanding than going to school, really, because you are learning in an ever changing field. Like the field is continually changing, newer things are coming, so you need to give it the time and attention you will give to your studies. In fact, even more, because you are learning on the job, maybe I think I should bring up Lua again. Okay, so you are maybe learning on the job. You are trying to get like a paid role, or just build something or freelance or whatever. You need to give it time and attention. It's really really crucial you do that, and be realistic. You are not going to master front end dev in 6 weeks or 6 months. Please remove it from your mind. You cannot do that. Okay? So be realistic with yourself. Set realistic expectations for yourself in your tech journey so that you don't get frustrated, because trust me, if you've never had any experience with code, or maybe you did not even do anything mathematical, like maybe you were doing like an art course, it will be a whole world of confusion when you start seeing const name equals to something. You will see interpolating strings and arrays. What is all this Greek? Yes, it's going to be confusing. So in order for you to cope, you need to be realistic with yourself that, yep, this is a new experience for me. With time, I will get it. They are just words, they are just concepts. It's not rocket science. I will definitely get it. So you have to give yourself time. The timing is really, really important. Like I can't emphasize you being patient with yourself. No, and don't be, nobody's rushing you. Like do not compete for progress. Okay, sometimes you could make the wrong progress, like moving quickly from HTML to something like Vue or React or Angular. No, you miss the point. In fact, you shouldn't even start with HTML. You should start with the basics of programming. Like, why are we doing programming? First of all, like, what is the computer? What are servers? What is the internet? You get it, right? All these foundational concepts, they play a long role, because when you start getting into job roles, you'll be doing way much more than just coding your editor. All right, you will need to understand how these pieces, how they link together. Like, what is the connection between the internet and your ISP, and why is that connection even there? Like, we all know that the internet is like a whole lot of wires underneath the ocean and stuff. Like, why? What are those? Like, it's really important you have a whole lot of whys in your tech space, because it just lets you to research and learn a whole ton. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling now. Let's hear from Lua.
Everything you just said, they are all true. I mean, you literally just said everything that I think a newbie or someone who is still trying to find their foot in tech should be hearing right now. That's just it.
Yeah, sure. So, um, yes, I'm really hot on that subject, but let me ask you this, Lua. How do you learn a new concept in tech? Like, what prompts you to learn something new? Like, every
I think one of the reason why I good or I always try to learn something new is the things you're going to create after learning what you're learning. Of course, when you're getting into something, you have to have a reason why you're getting it. For example, I want to build an application. What am I going to learn to be able to build that application? So when I'm learning whatever programming language that I'm learning at that time, the reason why I'm going to be learning that programming language is because I want to be able to build that application. So there has to be a reason for learning something new. Yeah, and I think for me personally, it's either I want to create something, it's either I want to help someone create something, it's either I'm just doing research or I'm just interested in it.
Okay, so interesting. That's really cool. So you are prompted to learn something when you're building something, or you want to create something, or you want to teach somebody. That's cool. I really like it. Yeah. So now that we've talked about the dons, so let's hear like your steps, like that successfully got you into tech. Then after that, we're going to open the floor up to questions because I know folks have a lot of questions. So you guys can start requesting the mic while she gives us the steps that she used to successfully get into tech. I wish you could also follow as well.
Well, okay. The first thing I did was to research on the type of roles in tech. So I did my research. What role can I, you know, become in tech? Like should front end, back end, UI UX design, uh, project manager. What role? And when I researched on that, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on front end right now because I already did Java programming and all of that. So I'm going to focus on front end. I'm going to practice that and I'm going to try to master that. And I think that was the first step that I took that actually helped my process. And the next thing was learning the programming language that would enable me to be good enough in that role that I'm choosing to, get into, like learning JavaScript, learning all of those programming language that's going to help me acquire that role. And the next thing is being able to create mini projects after obviously you pick the role. What this is what I'm going to be doing. You learn whatever programming language, you learn the skills that's going to enable you to be good enough in that role. And then now you have to be able to create mini projects, and you have to try to get mentors, people who are already into that role that you're trying to get into, people who have experience in that role. Try to get mentored by them, listen to their story, their difficulties, and what they're still facing up to date. And the next thing is networking. Like if I never network, I was not gonna be here speaking right now. So I think those are like the basic things I did. Basically, figuring out the role that I'm going to be playing in tech, learning the skills, creating mini projects, and getting mentors and networking, basically.
Thank you. That those are amazing. Like learning the skills, making projects, getting mentors, networking. Of course, the networking is really important. So yeah, thank you so much, Lua. Thank you. Those are like, in fact, there's nothing to add. Just hit the nail on the head, or the head on the nail. Okay, you did the right thing. Yeah, that's what I meant. So it's open mic, and let's hear Mohammed. How you doing, Mohammed?
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good day, good evening.
Good evening.
So, I have three questions directed towards both of you. And the first question is, how do you approach learning new things? Let's say a framework or a particular technology. Do you read docs? Do you read articles or do you watch videos? And what do you do to not forget what you have learned? That's the first question. And the second question is, what advice do you have for someone who wants to put himself or herself out there? Someone that wants to, start networking and building relationships within the tech space. That's the second question. And then the third question is, are there job opportunities for people who are still studying? Thank you.
Whoa, Mohammed, you're on fire. Great questions, Lua. Yeah, so ladies 1st. So I guess we should go with the first question. Like, how do you approach learning a new framework? Do you watch videos, documentation, tutorials, and how do you not forget? Lua, you there?
Yes, I'm here. So, his
Okay.
question was, how do you start learning something new, right?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes.
So, for from personal experience, how I learn something new is doing excessive research on whatever it is I'm learning, and when I'm done doing my research on it, I try watching videos and I try teaching myself. For example, you want to learn. Let's just bring it back to high school, right? Let's say you're learning something in biology, for example. So I it's a funny story, but I just pretend as if I am teaching a bunch of people. I'm learning that stuff, but I just pretend as if I'm teaching someone whatever it is I'm learning, and I try to explain it to that object that I'm that I'm seeing as a person, and I try explaining to simplest form in a way that someone else would understand whatever it is that I'm learning, and that's just how I grab it. Like for example, I want to when I started learning JavaScript, I had difficulties with arrays, and I just took the board, my whiteboard, and my marker, and I just started writing, and I started talking as much as it's just my room, my bed, my whatever. I was looking at it, and I was like, "You, this is how you do this. This is how you do." I was just explaining it to the objects in my room, and I started grasping the concept and understanding it. So I feel like when you do excessive research on whatever new things you're trying to learn, when you watch videos, you see people talking about it, and then you try to teach someone that whatever it is you're learning, you're actually going to grab it faster, and you remember because you've taught someone, or whatever it is you're teaching, you've taught someone. And I think that's what works for me. I don't know if it's going to work for someone else, but I think you should try that as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Lua. So while you were speaking, I was just trying to think because I've been doing this for a while and it's just second nature now. So I was thinking of how I really learn stuff. So for me, my tactic to learn a thing is to make it relatable. What I mean by that is whatever I'm learning, I have to find a way to relate to something I already know. So that way my brain will sort of, because our brain likes forming connection. All right. So that's why you don't need to cram stuff, but if you could find a connection between framework A and framework B, because most there are always similarities, especially when you're doing something in tech, right? So I find the connection between these frameworks or these languages and just use that to form a map in my head. So, for example, if I want to learn Swift right now, I will say, okay, how do you declare variables in JavaScript? Okay, so how do you do that in Swift? Learned. Because why? I will to relate those concepts together. Same thing with loops or whatnot and what that. So the same thing if I want to learn a new framework, I will say, okay, how do I do this in Vue? So how will I do that in that language? All right. And I love reading the documentations first. And like I always say, I start with the why of the tech. So I'll start with why. Why do I need to learn Angular? And what is the philosophy of the tech? It's very, very important because no two techs have the same philosophy. Because when you are learning in tech, you are learning someone's ideology. And if you're not putting yourself in that mindset, you're going to fight the tech. Okay, so that's why you can write Vue code that looks like React code and not as Vue code because you're not letting yourself sink into the mindset of the ethos, like what is the dogma for React. Okay, so that's it. I always look for the like what is the essence for this. So that's why I read the docs a lot because the docs is first party information of a tech. Every other thing else is third party or fourth party or even sixth party, and that has gone into process, and a lot of the gist has been lost because they're trying to simplify it, which is good. But if you really want to get the gist of a tech, you go to the docs, and even better, you go to the source code. I know a lot of newbies they get scared of reading source code. I would advise you to do that because you don't know the wealth of information you are passing on by not reading source code. Like most of the things I've built, open source and all, I've done by reading other people's code. All right, you become a good writer by reading other people's work. You also become a good developer by reading other people's code. Like you're passing on years of experience of great minds that work at Google, at Microsoft, at Oracle, all these big tech people, years of refinement to perfect the code they are at your fingertips if you just read the code. So that is, I read the code. Like I've read the code for Vue, I've read the code for Astro, and I keep reading the code for sales and a whole lot of stuff. So I know it might seem like, whoa, I can't understand this stuff. But no, it's still just JavaScript that you know, and it's going to make your JavaScript better. So I try to read the code as well. So that's just me. I'm the extremist here. So let's go to the second question by Mohammed. Um, I think the question was like, how can we network or something? I'm sorry, I sort of missed it. Can you go again?
Yeah, the question is, what advice do you have for
Okay.
someone that wants to start putting himself or herself out there and
Mm-hmm.
start networking and building relationships within the tech space?
All right, cool, cool, cool. As always, ladies first. Lua.
I would just say just start. Don't wait, just start. Because like I said, I opened my Twitter account I think a year ago, and the first person I started talking with was that lady. And if I never logged, because I signed up, I opened it, my dad was like, oh, sign up, do this, blah blah blah. And I opened it, I can say no. So I opened it and I signed out because I was not doing anything on it. I was used to Facebook, I was used to Instagram, and I just felt like Twitter was just a boring space, just writing things and just. So when I started connecting with people, I started doing research on Twitter. I started seeing what other developers were actually doing, how they were working on projects, how they were, the community was an amazing thing that really helped me. So I feel like just start it. Don't wait for no one to tell you, oh, you have to. No, no, no. Just connect. Just follow people, follow their story, follow what they're doing, comment. Tag them on whatever you're posting. DM them if you need help. Don't be shy to DM people. Like I'm not shy. I will DM you whether you want to talk to me or not. I'm DMing you. So if you're ready to talk to me, you talk to me. So just do what you have to do to get to whoever you think is gonna help your process. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Like you said, everyone, just start. But um, for me, how I put myself out there is I start with one thing in mind. You see, you have to start from a position of value. And you might ask, but I just got started. What value do I have? Yes. Do you know that you getting started is value of its own? Because you have fresh eyes of someone that you're just starting tech. So whatever you are learning, try teaching it and tweeting about it and writing an article about it. You're doing two things when you do that. One, there might be someone that is a little bit below you in the learning curve. You're going to make it easy for that person, right? And two, you are also teaching yourself because when you teach, you learn twice. All right. I have been a long time teacher out of the habit of just wanting to document everything I know. So one mantra I have is teach everything you know. So I teach everything I know. I don't hold anything back. So that's why you see I do some threads. I just keep sharing and sharing and sharing. And what you should do is you always have something valuable that someone else might need. So if that little bug, like I did a thread today of how to make a commit message, which is something so like that stuff has been in my draft for weeks. I was like, no one is gonna have value from this. But it turns out that a lot of people have value from it. So share whatever you are doing. It doesn't matter how small. Like most of my successful articles have been on things like how I did X in framework Y. It was just my thing. And people see it and they were going through it. So the problems you're facing is not unique to you most of the time. So when you share the solution out there, you are seen as a figure of authority and a figure of help. So when someone in a company, for example, have been looking for the solution to that same problem and it stumble on your article And we're like, oh, wow, this is exactly what I needed. Because you're not writing from the academic perspective, you're writing as documentation of how you've solved the problem. So you're going to come top of mind. In fact, I've seen folks read my article, send me emails saying, thank you for writing that. It saved me today. So that's how you start. So that way you've grown a connection and be a likable person by just being helpful. All right, share people on when they are posting their success. Be genuinely happy. All right, like you've seen how I retweet my friends when they're having their awards and stuff. Do that for people because when you are genuinely happy for others, you're going to attract those kind of results in your life. All right, so be genuinely happy. Your turn will come, of course, definitely. It's a very big world and there is abundance of everything. So that's how grow your connection, be genuinely happy for people, and share the value you have now. You always have something. There's always something. You can't tell me you don't have anything. It's not possible. There's always something. All right. So your last question, Mohammed. I have rambled too much to remember. Sorry.
Well, there's just I'm amazed by the kind of the gems that both of you are like giving. So the final question is are there jobs out there for people who are still studying?
Yeah. So again, Lua, you go first.
I think there are definitely jobs and internship as well for people who are still learning. Like I got my first job when I was still learning JavaScript, and I was tasked to just do static designs for a company in Nigeria called Border Pay. So I feel like when you know what you like, when you know HTML and CSS very well, you can definitely get a job. You don't have to be very good at JavaScript, although there definitely you will want to learn JavaScript, of course, but there are definitely opportunities and jobs out there for people who just know HTML and CSS.
Yeah. Thank you. So my own answer is a little bit like again extremist. Like who is not learning really? Huh? Everybody
I'm
is learning.
saying.
Yeah, like everybody's learning on the job every day. Like, so once you started in tech, immediately you are already positioned to land any kind of job. You can land a junior job or a mid-level job. The only thing that will differentiate you apart is how willing are you to do the job. How willing are you to learn on the job? Because we are all learning on the job. Don't let anybody tell you that you are an expert. Nah. I know senior developers at Google every single time. Don't even think about it. We're all learners here. So have the mindset that I can figure things out and start applying for the jobs you want. And while you are there, start contributing to open source. Like I said, it's the cheapest way for you to get exposure, right? Start helping people with their code. Do Stack Overflow. Like I think a couple of years ago, I just decided I want to be answering questions on Stack Overflow, and I got to like 600 and something reputations, and it's low. Of course, there are other people with higher, but that gives you like you start seeing the problems that people are solving, and as you help them solve the problem, like heck, when they ask questions on SO, I go Google for the answers. Really, like I'm like, why can't this person just Google for that? It's for me to learn anyways. So I Google for the answer, I learn the answer, then I tell the person. So that is it. All right. So you know how to figure things out by solidifying your foundation. So once your foundation is already strong, in fact, you can apply for a job for a JavaScript framework you've never used before because you know JavaScript. Because JavaScript is the foundation. So you can be sure and certain you can learn that framework in a week because you know JavaScript. So learn the basics of your language, then start applying to jobs in the realm where if it's front end, if it's back end, whatever. But so far you know your language, you don't even need to know your language up to 80%. So far you know enough to start building projects, you're good to go. Yeah. So yeah, the next person is let's see, Nanpan Wilson. How you doing, Nanpan?
Hi everyone, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Or I can.
My name is Nampan Wilson, and then I've been learning. Okay, I said I transit into tech since last year early, I think, and I've been learning Express JS for a while now. Can you hear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I can hear. Go on.
I've been learning Express for a while now, and then sometimes I get stuck into tutorial hell, and then when I go online and then see other people's opinion on that, let me say on that particular topic, and then you see different concepts and different things. Now the thing here is that I don't know, I don't know. I want to like start participating in open source because I think maybe open source will get me experience to work with others. I don't know if anybody has one or two advice or one or two steps that can help me out.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Lua?
No, you can go first. You can go first on that one.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So Express, yes, this is my land, backend stuff. So, of course, like I said, when you're watching tutorial or reading someone's article, you're having like third, fourth, fifth, sixth party explanation of the stuff. So I'm sorry you're confused or because of the you just watching tutorials, but this is what I want you to do, right? I need you to come up with a project that is unique to you, like solve like an API project that you need, that you will use. Okay, so that way you have something concrete and usable that you can build. You can even make it open source. All right, the goal for this project is for you to have a whole product or an API at the end of the day that you can show that you build with Express. Because the building is really crucial. If not, you are learning into the void. You're just having chunks of this and that. So you need to come up with a project and build a full API. Then, if you even have in your network a front end dev, or you could build a client like a web app that will consume that API. That will show you how everything have cohesion. Know how these things piece together. If not, you will just have knowledge of Express but no real work experience in Express. So that's one thing I think you should do. You need to build a full concrete project that you can use. Even if it already exists, but do it your own version of it based on your understanding and grow from there. And also, what has helped me, I don't watch tutorials much anymore. I don't. Yeah, that's terrible. I do tutorials and I don't watch tutorials. But what I watch is conference talks. So I watch a lot of conference talks on the things that I like because these people are the people that are doing the job every day, not someone that just learns the tech just to teach you. Because they are, so you learn their experience, right? So you hear from folks that works at Facebook and this and that. So I watch a conference talk and learn how they are using it conceptually, and this gives me a whole lot of ideas. So watching conference talks, tech conference talk is really really important as well. That to give you the whole picture. So that's what I have. Um, so let's hear from Lua.
I think you've said it all, but I don't really know if that was good, that was okay for him.
Mhm.
But I think he said everything that you needed to hear when it comes to the open source area. And if you need more resources on that, you can definitely DM me, and we can do more research on that.
Okay, thank you, Lua, for volunteering that. So, Nampa, any more questions?
Yes, yes, I can help.
Yeah, do you have any more questions?
Right now, it's okay for now.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. So I think who was first? I don't know no more. So let's get Arastu Arastu Ajax.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good evening.
I'm doing great. Laura, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay.
Okay, so thanks to the host and the co-host for organizing this tech space. And I must admit, I have learned a lot from the both of you. And I just want to add few things to the newbies who are getting to tech. Although I am also a newbie, but I think I have come across few points and advice from people in the industry that have set me on the right path. So non-path, I think you need to identify your why, because if you are getting into tech, you should know why you are getting into tech. Is it because of the flashy technologies, or is it because you want to solve problems, or like is it something that have been bothering you that you want to transcend it through tech and solve that particular problem? You just need to identify your why. And most people have this misconception about tech is all about front end development or back end development, just because they don't do a lot of research. And I want you to research on different roles in tech. And like some people can come from a non-technical background and enter into tech and don't even do technical things in tech, but yet instead they are in tech. You find lawyers who are into tech. You find people from different backgrounds, different walks of life who are also into tech. And the next thing is to forget other timeline and focus on your growth. When you come to Twitter these days, you find people with huge followers, people with threads on the latest technological tools, people with just boom you with all sorts of emerging tech related stuff, and you will feel overwhelmed. Like, okay, I'm just starting with HTML. When will I reach to JavaScript? When I learn two or three frameworks in JavaScript? So I just want you to cut off that all of those distractions and just focus on your own timeline and focus on your growth. Focus on someone who is better than you before, like your previous self, and see how far you have come. And the next thing is consistency, right? Because in the tech field, you have to be consistent. Whether you are someone who quit to grab a particular concept or not, if you are not consistent, definitely you won't go far in tech. And there's a saying that consistency beats talent, right? The most talented people, when they don't work hard, when they are not consistent, someone who is consistent will overcome that and do better. And the last one is just trust the process, man. You don't know within 2 or 3 years how far you will go based on your own progress and your dedication and your hard work. So kudos to Lua and the host. Lua is my colleague, and like we have very interacting on few stuff. And yes, I trust her and her peers organization. Although she's she she has made her peers all about females, but I don't have problem with it. But yet and still, she has space there for volunteers and stuff like that. So thank you guys, and that's it.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you, really. Yeah, like so, Nanpan, like I always say this: calm down, okay? Calm down. It's fine. You see, one thing people don't really tell you is tech is fun, right? And you have to be having fun, okay? So you need to really slow your rolls and just take a breather and, like I asked to say, what is your why, right? And be realistic, okay? I don't take yourself too seriously. The person speaking to you right now, once upon a time, did not know what Git was, right? My first time seeing Git was, what is this? What am I doing? What is Git commit? What's the difference between Git add and Git commit? What is Git stash? What I was just all over the place, right? But look at me now, right? You'll be like, wow, it's something, but it's nothing. It's just time, okay? Time you put into doing the tech stuff will make you better. All right, so you keep refining. Like when I did Vue back in, was it 2018, 2017? I don't know. I was, what is this? Why am I writing view? What is the purpose of view? What did I need it for? Can't I just do this in JavaScript or jQuery? Why do you see? But I get it now, right? Because I stuck with the process. I keep learning. I keep refining my craft, and just take it easy on yourself. So I think let's have Dave first before I rush to. So Nampam, okay, you're good, right? Just send some emojis. You're good. Oh, right, cool. All right, so Dave, go ahead. Then we'll have Arash to again because we want to speak. Dave.
Um, Hello everyone. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you too.
Yeah, my name is David. I'm a front-end dev and React developer. Firstly, I just want to thank Kelvin, Lua, and the other speakers for this space. That's been really insightful, and I've learned a lot. Thank you so much. So I have a question. My question is this: there are so many resources out there. I mean, there's YouTube, there's Udemy. There are so many resources you can learn from out there. But I have this problem of niching down the resources that would be for me. Like what I mean is, I would see this resource on React.js, I would start it. Then next day, I'm seeing this one, I'm starting it. I'm just like there are just too many resources to learn from. So my question is, how can I filter those resources to know which one is right for me that would help me more to learn?
Oh, Laura, I think this is a beautiful question. Please take it.
Yes, that's definitely a beautiful question, and I personally experienced that as well, and of course, we all still experience stuff like that. So, how do you filter down resources? I feel like you just need to find the one that you're comfortable with. Do you like watching face as an expressive face? Do you like watching someone saying it to you, or do you just like reading? I'm not a reading person. I don't like, not like I don't like reading, but I get bored like just reading and keep reading through things. So I like watching videos, and I feel like the video resources works for me, and I kept using that, and I'm still using that. So you just need to find what works for you. Do you like reading or do you like watching videos? So you just pick which one actually works for you. And if video and reading is not working for you, then maybe Kelvin have something to add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. So, Dave, yeah, I get you. I feel you. We have abundance of information in the internet for a whole lot of stuff. How can I get my own that works for me? Now, for me, ground zero for a tech, if it's open source, is the code. I know it's not popular, hear me. Ground number one is the documentation. All right? And the thing about starting with the documentation is the maintenance of the documentation, if they want to branch out to a third party resource, you can trust that they're going to branch out to the best that adheres to the ethos of the particular tech. So the best place to get a third party resource for a tech, maybe React, is from the React ecosystem itself, starting from the docs. All right. So you need to start from the docs. If not, because a lot of, come on, there are a lot of React 101 out there. So when you start from the docs, because that's how I filter, right? I start from the docs. If I have access to the maker of the tech, I'm in the Twitter feed, I start looking at the works of people that he's tweeting about, or other people in the React space that are with the core team or whatever. But the docs always leaks resources, and when they do, I'll go down that rabbit hole, and from there you get other resources that, because at the end of the day, you want third party resources that are close to the first party documentation so you don't get confused or thrown off a tangent. Okay, so that's one way I will use to always scale it down. I start from I know people don't like documentations, but it's it is the manual for the tech. Every other thing is just suggestions and somebody else's idea, which can be good, but of course you're just getting started. You don't even know what is good or not. So you are very vulnerable at that point, and when you learn bad habits from just following those stuff, it's going to be hard to really curtail in the long run. So that's why I say start from the docs. Yes, docs are hard, right? Start from the docs. If the framework or whatever has a YouTube channel, even better. Watch the YouTube, and again watch conference talks by the maker of the tech. Yeah. So that's it. Is that good for you, Dave?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for asking. So Arastu has something to say. After Arastu, then we have what's his name? Palms Codes. Yeah. So Arastu, go ahead.
Yes, Kelvin, I wanted to ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of this space, you talk about how you got into tech and you wanted to study mechanical engineering, and at the end of the day, you end up studying computer science and stuff like. So, I want to know, how did you balance computer science studies with your regular programming? Like, because truth be told, computer science studies, like, they throw these technological tools at you, and you don't just, once, like, for this semester you will learn Java. After 4 months you are learning C. After 3 months you are learning data structure. So how how did you balance that computer science degree with your normal programming stuff? That's it.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. So the thing is, while I was in school, I was a good student, right? And what good students do is that they go to school, they read their book, they get A's and all that stuff. I was all that, right? But I'm a very terrible student right now. So what I did was I always, after my school stuff, I have my stuff. So so that sounds as if my school was boring because it was boring. I wasn't having fun like everybody else because my fun was to be in the library just learning something I should have been learning. Yeah, so that's what I did really. I just after the school stuff, I always have my stuff. I'm working on my code projects and stuff, and I try to so we oh okay. I think we have someone with an open mic. Yeah, so as I was saying, so if we are studying Java for that semester, right? I learn Java and start using Java for my own stuff because I know in my mind at the end of the day, the concepts are the same. We are all building programs, but just using a different language. So I try to learn that language in full. I think I finished my Java textbook back in the day, and the same thing with every other languages or data structure. I learn it the extra mile in order to make myself a better programmer, not to pass the exam because I cannot read to pass an exam. I don't know how to function that way. So I read to understand. So when the exam comes, I don't really read no more during the week because I just watch movies. A very bad student at the end part of every semester. So that's what I do. I learn the extra mile. I go to the library, I study, and I work on my own project. I build stuff with what is being taught. So that's what I do. Thank you so much for the question I asked too. Yeah, so now we could take pounds calls. How you doing, pounds? Did I? Okay.
Good evening.
Pounds.
Good evening, guys.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go for it. You have static, but go for it.
Okay. Good evening, guys. Thanks, Kelvin and can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Damn. Okay. Okay. So I'll just go straight to my question.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone trying to build project, because I'm new into tech, I'm trying to go into back end. So for someone trying to start building projects, how do you go about building a project you have in your mind? Like the steps necessary to take, the processes, and putting the code, like coding it. You have it in your mind already. How do you go about thinking about the coding and actually putting it into coding and making it work? And that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, pounds. Lua, that's another interesting one.
Yes. So, how do you create or build projects from scratch? Right. That was the question.
Yes, that was the question.
Oh, okay. So first of all, you
Yes,
have
yes.
to, yeah. So first of all, you have to know. Obviously, you already know the project that you want to create. So now you have to figure out what programming language are you going to be using to create this project. Is it a programming language that you have extensive knowledge in, or are you still learning this programming language that you want to, use to create this project? And after that, you do your research. Have any other person created this project? How did they create their project? Like what Kelvin said, going and looking through other people's code and seeing how they wrote out their code and how they achieved whatever it is that they achieved. So you need to do more research on that particular project that you want to create. It doesn't have to be the exact same project, but something that's related to whatever it is that you want to create. That's what I do. I do project. I do researches on what other people have created and how they came about create, and also make sure that you have knowledge in the programming language that you want to use, because you don't want to be creating a project and not having extensive idea or knowledge on the programming language that you're using to create that particular project. And also basically that's it. That's it basically for me though. So Kelvin or
Yeah,
Arasto, do you have something to say on that?
yeah, sure. It's a good question. So I'm currently working on my workshop demo. If it's a very terrible workshop person, of course I'm still working on it 2 days to the workshop. Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is my workshop demo. I'm gonna just say it. It's a polls app, and we have polls on Twitter, right? We have polls on Twitter, and I know how polls work. And also, I was able to find another polls application built in Adonis. I could clone the project and just go through it. And the only reason why I will to understand it is, first of all, it starts with the understanding of how the thing should work in your mind. So, right, so mind first before your editor. So you need to understand. So I need to, okay, a user logs in or sign up if they don't have an account. And when they do have an account, they can create polls. And the polls is a question has to be there and options. Then other folks can come vote. All right, so they vote on the poll. Okay, so what happens when they vote? So it's one question leading to the other and the other and the other. So you start from the simplest part of the system. All right, so you pick one part and you build it. Then on a deeper level, you have to do a whole lot of database relationships and all that stuff, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you could relate to the concept in your head. Like, how would you do a pose in real life, or how does pose work in real life? And even if you don't understand that, you could go Google for it, right? How to build a pose application or how to build X application. Then you just read it. You don't really copy the code. You get the concept, the idea. And like Lua said, you know your language, okay? Because if you don't know the English alphabet, you cannot make up words, right? So the same way you cannot make up words if you don't know the English alphabet, you cannot express your idea, because in code you are writing a message both to the computer and to yourself and to other programmers. So if you cannot know the language, you can't really form those ideas. So you need to know your language, know your frameworks. That's why I say the documentations, and just reading other people's code comes to mind. So you need to know it. Then when it comes time to express yourself in any custom way, you can do it. All right. So back in the day in school, we did like a contest where they asked folks to like build something, and everybody was building something that was already there, like games or browsers. What I did was something that interested me at the time. I wanted to make an application that you put in a mobile number, it tells you what ISP that number is from. All right. And why it interests me? Because there's no magic in there. I am just passing, because I was able to deduce. You see, this is the thinking now, the critical thinking. I was able to deduce that certain ISPs start with certain four-digit numbers. All right. And as a scientist, you can validate that idea. Then you cannot write the code to try that idea. And that's what I used. So you see, custom to me, because why? Understood that. And I think I did a whole lot of string stuff. I split the first string, then check. So all ifs and just basic operation. I have a system that mobile number checker or whatever I called it at the time. So that just demonstrated, like, I didn't see it anywhere. I thought about it and I wanted it, and it was not on the internet even. So there was nobody's code to even look at or anybody to ask, because no one was doing it at the time. So that just it. When you understand the concept, you can just take you understand the concept and the language, you can build anything custom. So yeah, that's it. So I think I also have something.
Yes, just to add up, many people think that building projects is all about writing codes, right? And I think that is wrong. And building project is like 60 to 70% thinking about the solution to that particular problem, and the remaining 40% is like coding. And people don't think a lot before coding. People just go ahead, sit down behind their laptop and just write code, which is wrong. First, you need to, I don't know whether some people are familiar with it, like pseudocode and flowcharts. So once you you have done a flowchart of that particular project, although you won't do a flowchart for the entire project, but like basic chunks of the project, you do flowcharts. Then you try to translate that flowchart into code or into whatsoever language that you are fluent in, and that is one thing. And just keep it simple, right? Just keep it simple and start from the basic. Like if you know this your project will require loops, you should make research on the various types of loops and how the loops apply to this particular program, how to write loops. So just keep it simple and you break it down into pieces. And after that, you can add all of those pieces, just like a puzzle. Like your project is like a puzzle, right? You have different pieces combined to form a particular picture, to form a big picture. So just think about your project as a puzzle, and all of those small codes you are writing are just like pieces of that big puzzle. So that's it.
Thank you so much. So again, like we've said, please learn the components, right? I I I wouldn't have known how to do that if I don't know how to manipulate strings, right? So you need to learn all these little pieces. So that's where the because you need to know your tools, right? You are an artisan, you're a craftsman. You need to know where to apply these tools. So, okay, so how they relate to the problem at hand. And programming is all about actions manipulating data. Either the data is coming from you or from your users. So you need to know how to hold those data. The framework form you could do that, objects, arrays, whatever, heaps, stacks, whatever there is. So you need to just understand that at the conceptual level, beyond and transcending any programming language, first of all. All right? I have to first understand, okay, in real life, how do I know this is a glow number or an MTN number? Then how can I translate that to my code? All right? So if it starts from how will I solve this problem in like the manual way, how will I solve it? All right? So that was how you start from. So I hope that answered your question if you're still here. So we have Ade Demola Maxwell.
Adamala Maxwell.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yes.
Good evening,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, cool.
Uh,
Good evening.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
opportunity to be here today. Actually, this is my first time on this stage.
Can anybody hear you? I think I've lost it.
No, no, no. I can
I
hear
No,
can
I
you.
hear
can
you
hear
now.
you.
Oh no, it's breaking up. Oh, we can't hear you really.
Okay, Maxwell, try to come back to the space and try to reconnect. Let's see if we can
Yeah,
get you more.
yeah. So why is doing that? If you all have questions, we'll be closing down in less than 30 minutes. You all know I don't like long spaces. I'm
You
lazy.
guys grab the mic. Come
So
and
grab
ask
the mic,
Hello?
come
questions.
up, come
Let's
up.
network. That's what we're here for. So grab the mic, ask your questions. Let's see how we can help each other.
Mhm.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do this. Let's do
Oh,
this.
oh, oh, sorry, I was interrupted. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Ask the question, Ademo. Okay, let's hear Rio while we wait for Ademo. Okay, Rio is coming up. It's coming up, and he's up. Hey, Rio,
Yeah.
how did you do?
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
Okay, so go ahead. Ask the question. Rio.
oh, okay. I didn't know you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to the other guy. Okay. So basically, I'm not really here to ask questions, but I'm just, because since I saw the topic and oh, I'm sorry I joined late because I was quite busy earlier. Okay, so I saw the topic and there's just one thing I wanted to say. If you're really, starting out in tech and you just get into tech, I would tell you that you should join a community because I'm saying this because I've like the community aspect is really, really important because it helps you along the way because you can actually make connections right out of the start. Make connections with people who know way better than you, and you can learn from people too. So I don't know if that has actually been mentioned before, but I'll just tell you, if you just start out in tech, look for a community. There are a whole lot of community you can find. You can find community on Slack. You can find tech community on Discord. Find tech community pretty much everywhere. Even here on Twitter, there's so many tech communities you can find. So I'll just tell you, if you're just starting out in tech, just look for a community. Like community, it's really, really important and to help you in your tech journey. So that's what I have to say. Oh, and by the way, hello Lua. Good evening.
Hi.
Okay, so
Thank you.
yeah, basically that's just what I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. Community, really great. Yeah, go get a community, be active in the community, be helpful in the community. Like I said, everybody has value, no matter where you're starting from. You always have, even your starting is value, really. Like I always like when I have to learn something again because that feeling of being vulnerable and not knowing the heck of what I'm doing, it keeps me humble, right? It makes me want to like because right now I'm building my pose app, and even though I built the tech, I'm using the build pose app. I've been using it for a while because I'm doing other stuff, and I have to like go and read my own stuff and get to like figure things out again. I was just laughing at myself, and it makes me see the pain that a beginner would feel when they're trying to use it for the first time, and I get to have empathy, which is needed when you're teaching other people. So I love it. I like that feeling of starting afresh. I always love it. So get a community like Rio said and be active in the community. So I think Ade Demola is ready. Can you go again, Maxwell? Okay, I don't think his mic is still good. Does anyone else has a question? Like I said, wrapping up. Um, any question, any contributions? Let's have it, or we shut
Yeah,
down.
so I wanted to add up to what Rio just said about the community, and it's
Mhm.
definitely a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful idea. One thing that definitely helped my, process was getting into community and actually seeing other people doing what I was doing, learning together with other individuals, just knowing how people think differently, how people are faster than how, like, for example, you're learning with someone and the person is faster than you, or you're faster than the person and you have to move along with someone, and just having to see that you're not the only one facing a particular problem and there are other people who are also facing that problem, and that just helps you, understand everything, and motivates you to do more when you're in a community, and it's really nice, and I would advise newbies to actually try that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love community. And one other way I try and use in making myself better is I see someone that is doing what I'm doing, and even though I'm not in the person's circle, I tend to want to consume whatever they are putting out there. Right? I follow their works, I read their articles, I just try to keep an eye on them and learn from what they do. Like while I was learning technical writing, which of course I'm still learning how to write technical articles, my icon or my North Star was Sarah Drasner. I read everything she ever written that is technical,
Oh.
and I used it as a guide for myself to become a great technical writer. So even though I can't be in the same room with her, but she's mentoring me from afar because these people don't really have the time to come sit me down or be in the DM just say, hey, hi, hello, how you doing? What you need now? No, but I glean whatever they put out there to become better. And this art is as old as time because if you back in the time of sculptors in their studios, when a sculptor has a student, it doesn't tell the student, okay, this is how you hit this place or how you hold the chisel and that. The student just observe. Every time the master is doing it, he's observing, it's learning because there are things they can't even teach you because they don't know no more because they have done it so long, it's second nature. But you can only learn that from observing. So you observe these people, you have a list, like I have my list, and you guys might know them. I have the James Quick, Luciano, my very good friend. I have Wes Boss, I have Sarah Drasner, I have Mike McNeil. And all these people, I might not be able to sit with them, but they are mentoring me from afar. So you could learn from people that you've never been in the same room with by just following them judiciously. That's what a good student does. Like you just learn. They don't need to even point it out to you. They are busy, but they are anytime they drop something, you pick it up and like I said, you share it, you make sure you're adding value to them, right? Share their works. You can't be the one demanding value all the time. If you are demanding value from them, they can't give it. Because when you are giving value, like I've been in rooms that I've gotten to just by adding value to people above me. Like at my level, I was giving them value, like maybe writing articles based on what they made. Like I just had a meeting with someone right now who made a tech called Tauri, which is a an alternative to Electron and React Native. I was the one who wrote the very first article like 2 years ago, and right now, that tech just made like a funding. And I was listening and said, wow, this is great. And I did write that article, and that article is still being, like, the report to that article is being fucked up to today. So, you see, I added value, and he was so happy to talk again. For my level, right, I just wrote I didn't write the tech, I just wrote an article, and I published it. So that's just it. You do the best from your level. You always have something to give. So I have a bunch of hands. Who goes first? Um, Ezekiel, I think I haven't spoken before. Let's have Ezekiel first.
Hello everyone. Good evening.
Yeah, how you doing?
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm good. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. So my question actually, actually a newbie to less than a year. Trying to learn software development backend specifically. So my question actually is on how you structure your learning. So far, I've learned stuff around data structure and HTTP, web server, using SQL, and okay, yeah, I think that's about it. But I don't have this knowledge structured. Like, I don't know what can I really do with it. It's just okay, probably probably very little things I did with those concepts individually, but tying them together. Like, how did you go about structuring your learning? Thank you.
Okay, Lua, go ahead.
Okay, that's a interesting question. How to structure your learning process. The first thing is you have to figure out why you're learning these new skills. The second thing is to for you to set clear goals on why you're learning, like planning out your time. Like I'm going to start practicing around 6 to 6 and 2 times. So you have to dedicate time to whatever it is you're learning, and you have to have an accountability partner, like someone who is gonna be pushing you. Or for example, you just set alarm on your phone that will keep reminding you that you're supposed to be doing something at a particular time every single day. And you can also apply whatever it is that you've learned to building, little projects. Like you said, you've done PHP, right? You've done PHP and all this stuff. So you can try to put those knowledge together and try start creating little projects that you can. I don't know how advanced you are, but you can start creating little projects. But the first thing is to set a clear goal, what you want to achieve, and give time to whatever it is you're learning at that time.
Yeah, thank you, Lua. So Ezekiel, for me, structuring comes by default because I always have something I want to solve before I I like. There's always a problem for me. First of all, like I'm always solving something. All right, so my every step I've taken in my career has always been trying to solve a problem. Like sales cast and treble, whatever I've been doing is just trying to solve a problem. So let's take one instance of the problem. So I was I built an application, right? The salescast.com was a Nox application. If you know Nox, the framework is like Next but for Vue, and it has a backend called Sales. And I was like, okay, this is too much complexity. Can we build everything in a single code base? How do we do that? Then research and the universe brought it to my attention that there's something called inertia that can let you do that. Then I was like, okay, how do I do it in sales? But there was no one that's already done it in sales. So there's something called the inertia protocol. You have to do it for your framework. So I have to learn how to write the protocol for sales, which I've not done before. You see, my learning have already started. So that's how. So the structure I've already started for me is that I figure out what inertia is and how to do it for sales. Then how do you write it? Then I now have to go to the next step of the learning, which is to read other protocols in other frameworks and languages in order to learn that. All right. So mine might be unique to me. You might definitely not want to write a protocol, but whatever you're doing, let the answer to the last question would lead you to the next step. So if you're building like an e-commerce app, for example, first of all, how do I sign up my user? Okay, the users are signed up now. How can they start adding products to their carts? Or how do I get products on the e-commerce platform? So you see, it's layers and layers and layers. So you tend to build on top of it, and one layer leads to the next, which makes it bearable because you're solving a problem that shows you other problems to solve, and just build up from there and from there. So just take it in layers. That's just the essence of it all. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Answers my question.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you very
welcome.
much. Doctor.
Yeah, sure. So let's have Doye Designs, if I say that correct. How you doing, Doye?
I'm fine. Good evening,
Good.
everyone. This is my first time here in this space,
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
and I'm a newbie. I just got into tech like a few
Me too,
months
me
ago.
too.
Yeah, so I know HTML and CSS to a large extent. I think I can solve any issue. Like if I encounter any problem, I will be able to solve it. I just started learning JavaScript. But I want to know about job hunting, like the process from CVs to portfolios. Actually, I'm doing challenges on front end mentor. So I just started. I've finished a couple of, but like I want to do a lot of them because I feel like they help me, like in terms of real life projects, they help. So when I encounter a problem, I go and learn about it, try and solve it, come back and do it, that kind of thing. So yeah, I just want to know the job hunting process, like where to look for jobs, how to how to prepare for interviews, my CV, how I should arrange like the projects I've done on my CV, types of projects to put on my portfolio, and that kind of thing.
Okay, Lua, I'm gonna leave this to Lua Rush too because I don't function in that capacity. But I will say something. But after Lua.
What I did when I was looking for, of course, I already said that when I go into tech, it was not about the job or the payment that I was looking at, but rather the things I was going to be building while learning. But when I started hearing that okay, you can get job in tech and you can start earning this amount of money, and I started doing my research. The first thing I did was to create my resume, and to a very constructive resume, by the way, and to just I went to a site. I don't know. I can do more research on the site and send it to you later on. And I looked at the responsibilities. Like when you're looking for a job, obviously there are things that you have to be capable of doing in that position. So you have to look for jobs that the qualifications are within what your capacity are within your capacity, what you can actually do, and then you can start building your resume and reach out. I don't know about reaching out to the company because I never did. I just sent them through email. And after that, they interview me. Of course, they're going to ask you questions, how you started, and where you are, where you're planning on getting in the next few months or few years. And after that, they're gonna get back to me in few weeks. And 2 weeks after, they emailed me back and they were like, okay, we have another interview for you. And that interview was what you're capable of doing. Have you built anything yet? So they're definitely gonna ask you, have you built anything? So in your resume or your portfolio, you have to put what you've created before or what you're currently creating, so they can see exactly how good you are at that, at whatever it is you're doing. So that's basically my advice. And right now, I'm planning on doing my own thing because I have this concept in my head of becoming my own boss. So I don't know about everyone, but for that, that was what I did. So you can try that out. If you need more help, you can definitely DM me. We can work on that. And I think the company is also looking for front end developers. So if you need a position, and I can connect you with the company. And well, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you, Lua. So I I'm slow to speak on this because I'm very unconventional when it comes to jobs. First of all, I hate CVs. I don't know, just my thing. So because I feel it's just a state of where you are at, and my the kind of resume I like is a very dynamic one, and I see the internet as my resume. I see every article I've put out is my resume. Every video I put out is my resume. Every open source project I've put out is my resume. Every person I have taught or been able to help online is my resume. So that's why I'm very slow to it. So I don't follow the typical by the book way. Have a resume, have a cover letter. I've never written a cover letter. I suck at it. My CV, I just go to LinkedIn and just say generate CV just because I am lazy and I don't like CVs. I just do that if they ask for it. So my job at Treble, I got it very unconventionally. I just post the list in the comment. I'm very unconventional when it comes to job hunting because I believe companies that would hire you would want value. And once you position yourself as a person of value, as a gold mine of value to that company or in that space that you want, you could easily get jobs. I've heard friends that got jobs from just being active in a community, being the one that always answer the questions. I've seen people in the Laravel community get full-time jobs in Laravel, the company, just for maintaining open source project. So when you demonstrate a high level of capacity and competence, you are already a working CV. You do not need a CV or well crafted stuff that some HR is just going to look over. So you need to stand out because everybody's doing CVs. So what's going to make you stand out? Yours will stand out by your value. So that's what I feel. That's why I'm very slow. I don't want to discourage anybody from writing CV. They are good. There are people that employ like that, but the kind of value I go for is the value that is dynamic. Like if you Google Kelvin Omeration on the internet, you will see my resume. So that's the kind of resume I go for. So make sure your work is out there. You're adding value. You're writing. You're creating content. you're helping people on Stack Overflow, you're helping people on Discord, on Slack, or wherever you are at. Those are the kind of resume that means something in the long run, because except someone put a word for you, you just plan on getting a job from the resume, it's going to take a little bit of a while if they don't really know you, compared to someone that already has value showing. All right, so you need to have track record. Track record is really, really important. So that's why I said it's unconventional. So that's just my 2 cents. So I think Aras too. Do you have something to say in this regard?
Yeah, so just to add up on values, like resume, sometimes when you go for job interview, the HR will just put the resume aside and ask you, what can you offer? What value do you, and do you bring to this company? What are some of those things that you do differently from other applicants? So those are things that you need to those are skills that you need to hone, because if you are just like a mediocre developer that, yeah, I'm a front end developer, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, there are millions of people who write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. So what are some of those things that you do differently? Like you said, CV or resume is just like a paper or constructed stuff. But if you can prove yourself beyond all personal doubt, like you said just now, if I Google your name, I will see all whatsoever stuff that I need to know about you. I just did, right? And I find out that you are engaged into a lot of things. So that one, it stands you out from like mere developers around. So just put CV business aside and focus on what value you bring to whatsoever company that you wish to apply to. And one last thing, don't put job first, right? Practice, practice, practice. Learn, and learn. Because when the job time comes, you need to be not 100% ready, but if it is something about 80% or 90% ready, then that's a perfect match for you. But if you just learn HTML, CSS, and just forget about honing your skills and set your mind to applying for jobs, definitely your CV will be kicked out most of the time, because you haven't developed yet. You don't have that experience yet to actually do a mind blowing task. So just work on yourself, trust the process, and just do you.
Yeah, thank you, Aras too. So, Doi, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you very much.
yeah, sure. Good luck. Yeah. So, last question for today, because I'm tired. I have to be on the road for GDJs about tomorrow, so I gotta go rest. So, X bar, you go with your question, and I'm gonna let you all go. All right?
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Bani. I'm a junior backend developer, Node.js to be precise. Please, I just wanted to ask, what project can a newbie in backend, Node.js to be precise, build? I've built a blogging API, and I'm currently building a e-commerce API. But I want more project, like something I can do after the e-commerce API to really boost myself and gain more knowledge about backend engineering, not just to be precise. Thank you.
Okay. Um, I I think, should I go first on this, Laura?
Yeah, and also I did not get his question. What was the question?
Yeah, he's asking what projects can a beginner or a junior Node.js developer build, because he's done a blogging API and e-commerce API, so he's asking for more projects.
Oh, okay, so you can go. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um. Yeah. I think I'm losing you, Lua. Are you still speaking?
Yes, I said you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sure. So Xbar, again, not conventional. I don't really build, like, I would call them stock projects, like just projects that you've seen others built before. I don't do that. Like I always say, I start with my problems and what I need. So, what do you want? Like, what kind of project would you want to build for you in your level that you would use? It's really important that there's a use for it. If not, you wouldn't even know the quality of what you're building, anyways. So, what can you build that you can consume for the next 1 month or two? So you need to be able to consume it because yes, you built it, but how do you know it's good enough? Like, how do you know you've learned from it? All right. So I can't give you stock project because that's not how I function. But maybe Rio or Arastu know some projects you could build. But for me, start with your own problems, scratch your own itch. All right. Like for example, I have a licensing API, and that is because I am selling license for Gopi, which is my desktop application for writing JavaScript. You see, it's not a stock project because I needed a licensing API. All right. So now I think, okay, how do I build a licensing API? How do I get the email address? How do I generate the license? How do I validate the license? So you see, that is my problem, which I came onto because I was building stuff. So that's what I feel. You build what you need. So I'll let Aras to go ahead if you have an answer to the question.
Yeah, so as for the project, like you said, Kelvin, we can recommend you building something. You have to decide what problem you need to solve. It's not us. We can't tell you, okay, build this, build that. Because projects are tasks that you decide or undertaking. You can't just say, okay, because someone is building a Facebook clone, I will do Facebook clone. And once Facebook clone doesn't interest you, you will find out that after 1 2 weeks, you will just keep that project incomplete and you won't go back to it because it doesn't interest you no more. So Google is a friend. Google a lot. Google projects that a prospective employer wants to see or on your resume. Google, do it and just yeah, do you?
Yeah, thank you. So that's it. Just build stuff because at the end of the day, what matters is you are learning concepts and you are implementing them. So you need to know the back end concept, like what we've been talking a lot about in my Twitter is my goal because there are a lot of front end JavaScript there, but not a lot of people know how to be a good back end JavaScript engineer because JavaScript started in the front end. So most people think they can just write backend, but a lot of ethos to backend, which is what I am for to teach with salescast.com. So I'm going to be teaching a lot of stuff, design practice, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, programming is application of these concepts. So when you find what you want to apply it to, that's where you are innovating. And my vision is not just to have you all get jobs, it's to have you all create jobs by building the next startups and businesses. Not to raise VC fund, that's good, but businesses that people find valuable to pay you for. That's my vision. That's why my newsletter is called Building Businesses on JavaScript. Because I really want to see people do that. So I think Lua want to speak.
Yes, I wanted to say something on that. So for because there are a lot of newbies here, so I don't really know if everyone here are newbies or intermediaries. But for newbies, I would not advise that you start creating advanced projects like what he just mentioned. I would advise that you start with the simple projects that you think you're capable of actually doing with what you've learned. Things like digital clock, calculator, drum kit, loading bar, note taking app, profile, Q&A question application, real time character application, sidebar project, sticky nav bar project. To-do list project, weight converter project, like those basic things that you can actually get yourself to understand why you're learning. So when you create these simple projects that are actually easy to create, the experience that you have from creating this simple project, you can now take those experiences and start creating advanced projects. So I would not advise. I always tell my students
Mm-hmm.
this. I would not advise someone who is still learning to start creating, advanced project that advanced people are creating. It's not going to help you at all. You're always going to feel like you don't know anything and you're never going to learn because you're just going too far with what you don't know. So you have to start with the basic stuff. That was what I did. That was what my students are doing. I mean, that's what my students are doing, and I think it's actually helping them. So I would advise beginners to start with those basic projects. Please don't try to do something
Yeah,
too advanced for yourself because it's gonna mess you up. Yeah.
yeah, that's so right. I might have lost them on that one. So while you were speaking, I remembered a very big impact to my JavaScript journey was Westboss JavaScript 30 course. If you're learning JavaScript, that's the only project you would ever need to build because you're building 30 projects that will teach you a bunch of concepts that will make you a robust JavaScript engineer. So I already added in the comments, it starts from beginner, so you build like a drum kit or whatever, but it teaches you a lot of stuff of just vanilla JavaScript, like real JavaScript that you can use. That when you're using other frameworks, it makes you better. So you could go check it out. Just do that challenge. Take the 30 projects challenge and build upon it. Make it better because Wes Boss is a great teacher. If you are doing JavaScript, you should know him. He's phenomenal. So just learn it. So that's an action step. Always endeavor to take action on everything. All right, it makes you a mover. So once after this space, don't just learn this space and learn the ideas of all the speakers and just sit on it. No, take action. If you want to take action, start working on those projects because they are still valid in 2022. Work on it. Tag me when you make them. Tag any of the speakers. We'll be very very glad to see your work. And on that note, thank you all. It's 9:02 over here in Nigeria, and I'm tired. And I'm very grateful for Luas being our special guest. Just an aside, we'll be having a freelance coach in the next special guest space. How to freelance as a web developer coming, going to be phenomenal. She's great, and you are going to love her. So thank you so much for your time. You all know I'm rooting for every one of you. I'm doing this so that you all can be the best version of yourself. Get into tech, be great, do your stuff, just win. I just want to see you win, just win. All right. So thank you, Lua. Thank you, Arasu. Thank you, Rio. Thank you, everyone that spoke, and for everyone that have listened. Follow the speakers, follow the special guests, follow me if you'd like. But I'm rooting for you all. So, any last words, Lua?
Thank you guys. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I don't think I would ever start a space on my own, but I'm gonna try doing that in the future, but definitely not right now. So thank you guys for your questions. My DMs are open. If you have any questions to ask, I'm always gonna be here to answer your questions. If you have any project you're working on, you need someone to help you out, I'm always gonna be here. Thank you, Kelvin, for this amazing space. It was wonderful being here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Arasu. Thank you, Rio. Esba, Muhammad, Doye, you all rock. Thank you. So, yes, we're signing out. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.